Hello, everyone. My name is Edward Krenek. I'm running for the 400th Court District Court here in Fort Bend County. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about why I chose to run again, and why I'm going to be the better candidate for this race. A little bit about me. And by the way, anything I say here today, I want to put a caveat out there. I'm going to talk about some of the courts generically. I'm not talking about the judges you see here today that currently hold those benches right here in this room. But there's some judges that I am going to talk about generically in a minute. A little bit about me. I grew up in the far west part of Fort Bend County, a little town called Orchard, Texas, on the side of Rosenberg. All my life, been Fort Bend County resident, except for a brief stint in Harris County when I lived there, working in certain areas. But born and raised here in Fort Bend County. After graduating from high school in 1980, I went to Texas A&M University, got a BBA degree in accounting, graduated summa cum laude, and after that, in 1984 to 86, I went and worked for one of the big accounting firms at that time known as Ernst & Winnie, now known as Ernst & Young. Got my CPA license. I've held that ever since. Then I went to law school at the University of Texas, graduated in 1988 with honors, and been practicing law ever since. I have a law office in Katy, and I do a lot of litigation. I'm double board certified, and let me tell you what that means just a little bit, because I saw something that was being put out by my opponent, and I don't talk much about that, but some things you just got to talk about sometimes. And it talks about how she's the only one that has civil and criminal experience. And I'm thinking, wait a second here. You know, to be board certified, you have to have a certain level of experience. You have to have tried a certain number of cases before you can ever get board certified. I hold 2 of those board certifications. I've tried a lot of cases in my experience, and frankly, in my race, I'm the only one that has any civil trial experience, and that's going to matter in a little bit. But beyond that, I'm double board certified, still hold my CPA license, and I've practiced in all the courts in these general areas for all my career. 35-year practitioner, and I've tried a lot of cases. A little bit about why I'm running. You know, the courts are going in a bad direction ever since 2016, 2018 came around, particularly 2018. What we saw happening that year was tragic. I can tell you from a practitioner what it means to have good court of appeals, because the law changes at a whim, not in the law books, but what some judges just decide. You heard little examples of this. I experience it for clients when the law doesn't mean anything anymore and they just change it at whim. It makes no sense. Having good appellate court judges sets the law for what we do as trial court judges and what we do as practitioners. So it matters who you have at every single level, and majorities matter. Majorities on a court of appeals matters because that's who decides those decisions. A majority decision. 3-judge panel, 2 of them can go one way and 1 go the other way, and guess what? 2 wins over 1. Same with your en banc decisions. Majorities matter. So it's important to get as many of these judges in place, whether you met them or not. But for me, why did I decide to run? Because the courts are messed up. And I've seen them, not all of them, but we've got a bad trajectory. I do a lot of work in Harris County. Harris County is even worse. But let's talk about Fort Bend County a little bit. Right now, we have again, a caveat. We've got some good judges. I'm not talking about those. We've got a couple of judges that wouldn't know how to handle a civil matter if their life depended on it, including the judge, including what's happening in the 400th court right now. And I've tried a lot of cases. I will be the most experienced one to handle these sorts of cases. Right now, we have great judges, some of them, who have a lot of criminal experience. We don't have any judge whose primary forte is civil trial work that is now sitting as a judge. It's important because in our district courts, the district courts here in Fort Bend County handle both criminal matters from felonies on up. That could be the very big ones too, capital murder, everything. Felonies on up. In the civil cases, they handle matters of unlimited jurisdiction. So you tend to get some of the more difficult cases, higher dollar cases. Not that any case is not important, but there's some cases that are $25,000, $50,000 cases that still may be in these courts. And there's cases that are millions and tens of millions of dollars in these courts. And you have judges that don't have a clue what to do with it. But more importantly, I want to run because we have a backlog going on, particularly on the civil side of our cases. We're not moving these cases like they need to be moved. But along with that, every one of you are taxpayers here. Your taxpayers are who fund these courts. You have a right to ensure that your courts are running as efficiently and as properly as they could be run. Everyone's entitled to judges that work harder, smarter, using technology, embracing that technology, making things more economical. Because if you're in the system too long, you've already lost. So when we look at the criminal side of things, and you had a great talk with you, Mr. Khan, about what you experience. On the criminal side, there are judges, and I was actually at a endorsement event with two of us, and it happened to be the Houston Chronicle, where I heard come out statements like this. Well, when it comes to sentencing, we have to reimagine and re-envision how we sentence people, because sometimes people can't help the circumstances they're born in. So if they're born, i.e. poor, maybe we cut their sentence down or something of that nature. That's the kind of things that are going on at the courts when they shouldn't be. The law is the law is the law, and you should follow the law. The rule of law means something to me. Your due process rights, your constitutional rights mean something to me. What happened in the era of COVID, yeah, we didn't know what was happening in the early part of it, but after a while, we kind of had an idea what was happening. Yet all these restrictions on your businesses, on where you have a right to go practice your religious beliefs or your businesses, took an impact. Maybe not so hard here as some other parts of the country, but they still took an impact. And guess what? It isn't the government that's giving you those constitutional rights. Those are yours. And we have to have good judges to stop someone from taking them away from you. And that's what I believe in. I'm here to protect your due process and constitutional rights, and that's what every good judge is duty-bound to do. And so it's important to me to make sure that the courts are run efficiently, the courts are run in a way that maximize your tax dollars, that get litigants in and out of the system quickly. And I've got innovative ways to make this happen. Let me give you an example, and I don't want to get down too much detail, but look, when it comes to discovery on our civil cases, 95% of it's going to be within this box. You got a pretty good idea if you've practiced law and tried cases, what's going to be discoverable and what's not. There's no need to spend thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars fighting over certain of these matters. Send me, as your judge, a letter telling me what you're looking for, and I'll give you a pretty good idea what is going to be discoverable. And if you want to send something beyond that, by all means, you're welcome to do it. But don't make your client pay a lot of money to decide something or to brief something or to ask the judge for some relief that we know how it's going to turn out 95% of the time. And there are nuances to everything. And anyone who wants to have a right to fully brief it, that's up to them. But there's got to be better ways that we move cases and matters through these courts quicker, more efficiently, and get people in and out with quicker settings or resolutions. Because if you're in the system, as long as some of these cases are in the system, you've already lost. And that's unfortunate. So I believe that I can do that. I believe I can move these cases a lot better. I'm a lot more qualified to handle certainly the civil side of this, and it's important to every one of you because, yes, some of you will have the criminal side. You're going to unfortunately be the victim or have an occasion to be in there for criminal reasons, but it's a whole lot more likely that you, your family member, or someone you know is going to be in there because of a civil. There's going to be some dispute or something happening in your life where you need someone, and that now's not the time when you're in there and your business depends on it, and there's deer in the headlights looking and not know how to move these cases. And that's unfortunate. Let me tell you what happened in 2022. I don't like to talk backwards, but it's a lesson that we all learned. It was a good lesson because it's so important and the messaging is so great, and so many people are more motivated with this. But in 2022, here at the end of the vote day, a lot of people had difficult time, as Judge Bridges mentioned, getting down and actually being able to cast their votes, and they kind of gave up because they waited till the last day. In my race, I lost by 194 votes out of almost 250,000. 194 votes. And just that one location would have made a difference. One location. But let me tell you one thing further. 1,000 more Republican votes from the totals we had would have gotten you 4 more Republican judges. That one cycle, 4 more would have come in. And with that, you got the majorities to set policy and to do a whole lot of other things. So it does matter. And we did look at the undervote from the top to the bottom, and it was very drastic in a lot of these races. Very difficult. And I think a lot of times people say, well, you know what? I've never met them. I don't know them personally. So I'm just going to skip that race. When you skip a race, it's like a vote for the Democrats because they're not going to skip a race. They vote all the way down. They're trained to vote all the way down, whether they know them or not. I encourage you to check everyone out. There's great databases now. edkrenek.com. You can look at a lot about me. I've got some videos on there to tell you a little bit about what I believe in, but everyone has a website here. Go check them out. Do a little bit of research. Encourage your friends to do that so that they have an idea who they're voting for. Because when you do look at that, you're going to see competence, qualifications, skill sets that are far and above what our opponents are. And that does make a difference. So I encourage everyone to do that. Check it out. And it will make a difference in this upcoming race. Finally, I'm going to thank everyone in this room because I've heard some stories. I know things that are happening firsthand. And I'm encouraged by this. So many people are motivated to get out. You know what? You were telling me something that you said my life story better than I could say it almost. You did a great job. And that makes all the difference in the world because there's so many of you multiplied in so many different precincts doing just that, trying to get this messaging out. Because when we're quiet, bad things happen. When we're vocal, we can effectuate some positive change. So thank you for all being here tonight, taking the time to be here, listening to our stories. We're getting down to the home stretch. We got a little less than a month before early vote starts. And once that starts, it'll really be going very, very quickly. So, and one more thing I will talk about is this. There's an additional reason to vote early. We use our resources to look at what's happening during that early vote time period. We have the data, we have the ability to see who voted and who hadn't voted. And when you hadn't voted by day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that first week, we're getting a little bit worried. So what we do is we mobilize our resources again to touch you one more time, to try to send out another message to you, to drive by your house to drop off some more materials or door knock. If you vote early, we can kind of say, look, we know that person's already voted. Let's move on to the next one who hadn't. And that'll help save us on some of our resources too. So please encourage everyone to vote early, not vote often like the other side, but just vote early and let's make some positive change. Thank you very much for being here. Again, edkrenek.com, Edward Krenek for the 400 Court. Thank you.
So let's start off with just